Yes. So today we are continuing reading about Kamma. In the last session as well, we read about results of Kamma mostly. We went through a text where the results of rebirth in the ghost realms from the Lakkhana Samyutta, and we thought we had some questions about the details of the teachings about the Kamma. And so today we're doing that. We're going through other salient suttas and important points that are usually part of the definitions that we think of when we explain the law of Kamma. And so first one is going to be from here in the Majjhima Nikaya. This is just one verse where the point here is that there are laws which are conventional, that are sammati niyama. These would be social criteria or agreements or conventions, but the Kamma, the law of Kamma, is explained on the level of Dhamma niyama, as a general law of nature or general cause and effect. And this first verse from the Majjhima Nikaya 98 explains this. Ajahn Gavisako, can I ask you to read the verse, please, and go through the words for us?
Kammuna vatati loko, kammuna vatati pacha, kamma nibandhana satta, rathasani va yayato. Okay, so here the first verse is a very famous verse that you will often hear quoted in Thai Dhamma talks. Kammuna vatati loko. So the subject of the sentence is loko, meaning the world. Yeah, so the world. Vatati is proceeds by or continues by. Moves by.
So it's the world that is turning.
Yeah. So the world that is actually not literally turning. This there's a similarity with another word, vatati. If there were two dots under the T's, then it would mean to turn like a wheel. But this vatati has not the two dots.
I see, proceeds.
There's a slight difference there. It generally means kind of like moving forward, proceeding. And it proceeds by what or through what? So that's by kamma, which is in the instrumental case. So it becomes kammuna. So kammang is what we call kamma action. And by kamma, through kamma is kammuna. It's a kind of irregular form. Yeah. So the world proceeds through action. And then kammuna vatati paja. The same, except that paja is the subject here. So that means the population, people in general, mankind, you would say. Mankind also moves along, continues, goes forward through action. And then, next word, kammani bandhana satta. So here you have the subject of the sentence, again, is satta. That means the beings, living beings are satta. Satta, a living being, and this is in the plural. So the beings, and here there is no verb, which is quite common in Pāli. So there's an implied honti or something like that. The beings are kammani bandhana. They are like fastened or bound by action. Bound by action. It comes from the word, from the root bandhati, which is very, I think, related to the English word like binding, binding, bound. So the beings are bound by action, and how? Rathasani va yayato. So there is the va. Rathasa ani iva. Iva means like, as. It's always used in similes. So like the for one who is moving, traveling, it's like literally the linchpin of a chariot. So maybe a Zendan can explain the physics of this. How would it work?
I think it's fairly self-explanatory that the linchpin holds the wheel together. It holds it in place.
So it's the thing in the middle, that will hold the wheel from falling off the
The central axis.
the axle. Yeah, exactly.
Central axle.
Right. So it's a very famous simile and passage that you will come across, and many dramaturgs start with this verse.
That's right. And yayato is going or rolling. So yayanta is the present participle, is going, rolling, and it's in the genitive case that it's the going, rolling of the chariot wheel. Like, because it agrees, it has to agree with ratassa. Ratassa aniva. So you could translate it as that's the Kamma. Kamma makes the world go around. By Kamma, people proceed. By Kamma, people are governed. Living beings, Sutta, they are bound, fastened by Kamma, just like the linchpin of the chariot is kept rolling by the pin. Like that's what it keeps it go. That's what it keeps it in place. So the next one is from the Anguttara Nikaya, and this is where we're going to talk about that. You probably remember this explanation. We always shift the discussion of Kamma to intention. That intention is Kamma, and this comes from this sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Nipedika Sutta. Someone from Amaravati, Venerable Medavi, can I ask you to read until Vadami?
Okay. Kamam bhikkhave veditabam te kama nirodhagamini patipada veditabati itiko panetang vutam kimchetam paticca vutam chetanaham bhikkhave kamam vadami.
Thank you. Do you recognize any words here?
Kamam bhikkhave kama nirodhagami patipada.
So how would you explain Kamma Nirodhagamini then?
Maybe something related to the ending of Kamma.
So Gamini is going, Nirodha going to cessation, and the cessation of Kamma. So going or leading to the cessation of Kamma. So this is the path that is leading to the cessation of Kamma. And Veditabba, to me, means to know. Is to you remember, the one that you might remember is feeling Vedana, but it's also means to perceive, to know something. That you should be familiar with it, you should acquaint yourself with it, that this is something that you should have experimental knowledge in. And so the Kamma here, in accusative, the Kamma should be known.
I think here is actually the neuter.
Yes, I think so. Yes, that's right.
Kammang veritabang.
It's nominative, no?
Yeah.
That's so Kammang, nominative. The Kamma should be known, and then the here Veditabhati, it's like that. So the path, Patipada, the path leading to the cessation of Kamma should be known. Here the ang is lost in the ending with the ti. And then itiko panetang buttang. This is, how would you translate this, Ajanga Vesako? This is said, this is pronounced?
Thus, it is thus said.
Yes, that's right.
Thus it is said, it is thus.
It is thus said.
Vuttang is from Vuttati to say, it is said like this. It always introduces like a quote.
Kinchetang paticca vuttang. Why? Paticca, you remember from Paticca Samuppada, so some kind of dependence. Dependent on? Yes? Ditato?
I was thinking Itiko Panetang. Is Panetang the first person? Singular?
Yeah, but it's this kind of pana etang, and it's kind of
Can it be like this is why I say or this is I say since it's first person or no?
No, vuttang is a past participle. Is said.
it's
This is how it's said.
It's said or this is how
he refers to his own teaching, but he says this is the definition that you've learned. This is how it's said.
It's said, not this is how I said.
I say would be vadami.
Yeah, but it's not like that.
And then sometimes the Buddha introduces a definition with vadami that, I say, and we'll see that in a second. Right, so kinchetang paticca vuttang, dependent on what this is said, why or dependent on what is said like that. And then this is the main thing in the quote, Chetana ahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. So this is vadami, I say. I say that Kamma is Chetana, where Chetana is, you remember, its intention. And ahang is means I, and in this sandhi, where the words are joined like this is a construction in Pāli, so you should read ahang Chetana kammang vadami, that I say Kamma is intention. Not a very English sentence, but I think you can follow it.
Yeah, in Pali, if you put two like nouns, one behind the other, it can be used as a kind of a definition. Like I say, this one word means that. So it's a kind of idiomatic way to say something in Pali, very short.
Yes, and so this is we define Kamma here. What is it that the Buddha says when he talks about Kamma? And this is in the sutta called Nibbedika Sutta, where there are other items in the teachings that the Buddha goes through, and Nibbedika means penetrative knowledge. How can you claim that you have penetrative knowledge about a given subject? You have to be able to explain what is it, provide some kind of definition. You have to be able to explain, how does it come about, its origin. You have to explain its types and variations, the result that comes out of it, and how it ends, and how do you practice towards the cessation. And so in this sutta, he goes through these 6 points about Kamma, for example. So why does he say that Kamma is intention? Cheta itava kammang karoti. Is that having the tava ending, this ending means having done something. This is the absolutive, that having intended, someone performs an action. Intended, he or she
Intended.
Having intended, he or she
does
an action in Kamma, an action does. Cetaitava kammang karoti. That's why intention is at the center, because it precedes the action. So kayena vachaya manasa, these are the instrumental, these are by. Instrumental means by or with. And so performing an action by body, speech, or mind. Right? Okay, let's continue. Titato, can I ask you to read from Katamo to Devaloka Vedaniya.
Katamocha bhikkhave kamanang nidana sambhavo. Passo bhikkhave kamanan nidana sambhavo. Katamacha bhikkhave kamanang vemattata. Ati bhikkhave kamang niraya vedanayam. Ati kamang tiracha nayo nivedaniyam. Ati kamang peti visaya vedaniyam. Ati kamang manusaloka vedaniyam. Ati kamang devaloka vedaniyam.
The next one too.
Ayang vuchati bhikkhave kamanang vemattata.
That's right. So here we go into the origin, Nidana Sambhava, and the diversification, that what are the types. So Sambhava. Sajanka Visako, please give us a breakdown.
So Katamo Nidana Sambhavo. So you see the ending there has to be O and O because Sambhavo is a masculine word. It means like what is the origin and the coming into being. Sambhava. It's like the same word like when we chant the Paticca-samuppada, Sambhavanti means coming into being. So the coming into being and the origin of actions, kammanang. So kammanang plural, so there are actions, and it's a genitive. It's of the actions. Kammani would be plural actions, and then kammanang is of the actions. And so what is the origin of these actions? Phassa, contact, sex contact, is the origin and coming into being of actions. All right. Again, there is no verb in that Pāli sentence. It's just you put first phassa, kammanang, nidana, sambhavo. So one thing is another thing. Is equated with this other thing.
Yes, this is the nominative construction, that you have the two nominative, Passo Nidana Sambhavo. There's a the contact. The contact is the origin of Kamma. Right? That's how. This is how you read these, and there's no verb. The hoti is implied.
And then continuing then.
Katama, that's right. Continue with Katama.
Katama, kammanang vemattata. So here, why is the ending a? Because vemattata means diversity or something like that. Is feminine. It means what is the diversity of actions? And then he says there is, because action, kammang, which is niraya vedaniyam, which is to be felt or to be experienced in the niraya, meaning the hell realms. And then there is action that is tirachanayoni vedaniyam, that is to be felt, to be experienced in literally the animal womb, tirachanayoni, being born as an animal. Or there's another one, peti visaya vedaniyam, to be experienced among the ghost realm, we call, and manusaloka vedaniyam, action to be experienced in the human world, manusaloka, in the human world, and lastly the devaloka vedaniyam, to be experienced in the heavenly world, the world of the devas. And then the ending, as usually, is always ayam uchati. This is called uchati is this is called kammanang vemattata, the diversity of actions.
That's right. So this is the origin. These are the types. text then go. Venerable Atanyu, can I ask you to continue, please? Until Vipako.
Sorry?
Until Vipako.
Katamocha bikawe kamanang wipako tiwidan bikawe kamanang wipakang wadami ditewa dame upapaje wa apare wa pariyaye ayamuchati bikawe kamanang wipako.
Thank you. Please explain what you understand from here.
So what is the fruit, the result of Kamma? So Tiwida that's free.
That's right. So Ti
that's
Vidi
free.
Aham. So it means I say there are three. So from Ti, that's right.
Yeah, Wadami, yes, I say yes.
That's right.
Yes. These three because fruit of Kamma.
Kamma, that's right. Fruit of Kamma or result of Kamma.
Of Kammas, so Kammanang, so of actions.
Of actions, that's right. So there are three types of results. So there is the. Please continue.
So ditiwe dame in this dhamma, no? No, in that
is
dhamma,
visible in the present. Ditteva.
Yes.
Visible or experienced in the present life. So
Dhamma
is literally so this is literally visible.
Yes.
So something that can be seen, but in this context, this refers to experienced in the present life. Right, so something that is yes, that's right. And then upaje.
So dhamma is locative, right?
Yes, yes, it's locative. Like in this dhamma here is like the state of things, or so in this visible state of things.
And so upajewa apare reborn.
Upapajati is to be reborn, like that's the verb. And from here you have a past participle, be reborn, and when you put it in the locative, upaje, as is at the time, so when being reborn. So which here means the next life. So some results are experienced in this life, some results experienced in the next life. Va is the or, like present life or the next life. And apareva pariyai is
after or another, yeah. Succession.
This is actually so these two go together. So often when you see the three types of Kamma on a list, then you'll see Ditteva, Upaje, and Aparapariyaye, like as a combined noun. And here he just breaks the compound parts to Apare va Pariyaye, but they are idiomatic together. So either this life, next life, or after that. Follow a life that follows after that, another life. And then, what's the last sentence?
So this is said because is the fruit of Kamma, the result of Kamma.
That's right. Thank you. Very good. And then let's do the last one.
So since here we have Vucciati, this is now I say? No.
No,
Ayang Vucciati. No,
it is said.
this is said to be. It's a passive. It's a passive verb.
It is said by someone else. It's
Sekanando, can I ask you to read us the last paragraph?
Katamo chapikave kama nirodo. Phassa niroda bhikkhave kama nirodo. Ayameva ariyo atangiko mago kama niroda gamini patipada seyatida samaditi pe samadhi. Samadhi.
Yes, thank you. Please explain what you understand from this.
Very little.
There must be few bits here and there.
Not much, sorry.
So the question word, katamo, is what? Katamo what? What? Because? What? Because? So what is Kamma Nirodho?
The end of Kamma.
And that's right. What is the end or cessation? What is the end of Kamma? So how do we, and so here he's going to tell us in his teaching what is the end of Kamma. And so this is where he defines the phassa nirodho, that the cessation of contact is Kamma nirodha. And this is a very profound statement. And if you understand, we'll go into it a little bit more in the next quote, but you can filter out a lot of, how to say, non-Buddhist explanations of Kamma that appear in magazine and pop culture articles and so on, that don't really grasp the meaning of Kamma. And when you understand that Kamma, when you explain it, it has to be something that is intention. Its various results are, its origin is contact. That it has to be something that originates with the objectification from the sensory stimulation. That's what contact is. And then its cessation has to be the cessation of that. And if you read explanations of Kamma that have no acknowledgement of this, then they are too simplistic to really discuss. They can be useful perhaps as starting points when explaining the teaching in simple terms, but when you really go into discussions, then you have to remember that your explanation has to line up with these definitions. Otherwise, it's very easy to get sidetracked into esoteric meanings, like phassa nirodho, the end of contact, the end of sense objectification is the end of Kamma. And so the other thing that is significant here is that Kamma has an end. Like, that often the view of Kamma is one that people don't realize that you should think of it as something that has a beginning, something has an origin and a cessation. And so in the Buddha's teaching, Kamma has to be something that ends. And what is the end of it? You end Kamma with the practice of the Eightfold Path. The result of, when you think of the factors of the Eightfold Path, your practice is such that it ends Kamma, and it breaks down the grasping that produces objects in the senses. But let's continue with, we'll go into that from the Majjhima Nikaya 9. And this is, you remember, this is a Sammaditthi Sutta, where Venerable Sariputta is explaining various ways how somebody would come to right view. So when we talk about Kamma and talk about intention, then it's very useful to shift the topic to intention, because then you can start talking about wholesome and unwholesome roots. And so here we'll read what is meant by wholesome and unwholesome roots. Video, can I ask you to read until the second line, Kusala-akusala.
ครับKatamancha wuso akusala mulam, lobo akusala mulam, doso akusala mulam, moho akusala mulam, katamancha wuso kusala mulam, alobo kusala mulam, adoso kusala mulam, amoho kusala mulam.
Oh, thank you. How much, with which of the words that you recognize here?
Well, the Katamancha also is what is it, friends, the origin of unwholesome,
The
and
root.
the root of unwholesome.
That's right. So mula is root.
Yeah, root of a tree.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. What
so
is the root of what is called unwholesome?
unwholesome.
That's right.
And lobo, I don't remember. Doso is hatred. Moho is greed, isn't it?
No, start with greed.
Oh, lobo is greed,
Mhm.
and doso is hatred,
That's right.
and
Greed.
then moho is delusion.
That's right. Greed, hatred,
And
delusion. So these three are the root of what is called unwholesome.
And then do we have actual words to define alobo, adoso, and amoho, or do we just say what isn't greed, what isn't hatred, and what isn't delusion?
Yes, here the distinction is just that the absence, like alobo, the absence of greed is going to be wholesome.
Okay.
The absence of hatred is going to be wholesome. The absence of delusion is going to be wholesome. So in that sense, the wholesome has the unwholesome factor has a very clear boundary, and he's trying to explain that if you're operating in greed, hatred, delusion, then whatever that is, it's unwholesome. And as soon as you're able to avoid that, you're good.
Yeah, simple.
You know, I think that's much more useful than trying to specify exact factors like, you know, love must be wholesome or friendliness must be wholesome, because all that you're already given by avoiding greed, hatred, delusion. And so in that way, it's a very practical definition that if you can avoid the unwholesome route, then you're already in the wholesome. Right? And then, okay. And then here we skip large section in the Sammaditthi Sutta, and we're going into the part where phassa is part of the experience of living beings. Ajanga Visaku, can I ask you to read, please, and talk us through it from Chattarome?
Oh, Chattarome. Oh, yes. So, Chattarome avuso ahara bhutanang va sattanang titiya sambhavesinang va anukahaya katame chattaro. So, Chattaro ime avuso, so friend, there are these four. So Chattaro, we know from the Four Noble Truths, right? Everybody knows Chattaro, the four. There are these, ime means these. Avuso is talking to friend. And these four foods or nourishments, nutriments, ahara. And now, what for? So they are for the titiya. So titi means literally standing, stability, establishing, titi. and it is for something, so it's a dative case ending there. So titiya, for the establishing, for the stabilizing, and so on. And now of what? Bhutanang va sattanang. So sattanang, first we look at sattanang. So this is satta are beings, living beings. Sattanang is of the living beings, genitive, of living beings. And now the beings are bhutanang va sattanang. So they are bhutan, that means they have come into being, or they have been born literally. I mean, have come into being, we understand that. Those who have been born.
Yeah, the adjective agrees with
Yeah.
the declension of the noun that it qualifies. So
The ending has to be ang, nang, bhutanang, sattanang. So they are the beings that have come into being. So it's a bhuta and satta in Pāli are kind of coming from two different verbs that both mean to be. And one is hoti and the other one is ati. But anyway, so for the beings, for the establishing of beings that have come to be, that have been born, or sambhave sinangva anukahaya. So here is the other kind of beings, sattanang, who are sambhave sinang. So for those who are seeking becoming, new birth, yeah, sambhave si. So there you find the word sambhavati. Sambhavati or bhavati is to become, sambhavati to come into being. So we can talk about those who are seeking to be born, and for their anugahaya, for their assistance, for helping them, for the helping, for the assistance of those of the support, help, assistance of those who are seeking to become, seeking to be born. Katame chataro, which for? And here we have kapalikaro aharo. So this is called the food that is, we call it a solid physical food, but literally it means the food that has been made into a Kabbalah is a mouthful. Is in the Sekya rules, is a mouthful of food. So yeah, it's physical food. Orariko va sukumova means gross or subtle. Gross or subtle physical food. Passo dutio, sense contact as the second. See, so he's listing, he's making a list. First,
that's right.
The first one he
is-
doesn't actually name as number one, but you assume it. And then passo dutio means passa as the second. And then mano sancetana tatya, mental intention as the third. Mental intention. You have cetana or sancetana, mental intention as the third. And then vijnanam chatutang, consciousness as the fourth. Yeah. So these are the four foods, nourishment, nutriments that either help to establish living beings or make them established in the kind of becoming they are already in, or helping those trying to be born somewhere.
Yeah, so phassa, contact. It's often, I think it's distracting that when we think of phassa, sense contact, in the sense of, just your eye receiving something through the retina. I think people often go to this diagram or explanation they learn in school about medical science, that how the eye organ operates. But phassa is a stage in experience, and so it's a much more complex phenomena than just the mechanical act of your eye operating. You can have the eye fully functional and operating with no phassa. That's how you should understand it, with no objectification going on, but the eye is fully functional, you're not blind.
Yeah, it's a stage of like the conscious engagement with the experience already, being engaged in the contact.
Yes, that's right. And this is why there can be cessation of contact. This is why there can be phassa nirodha without going blind.
Yeah.
If you practice the path, then you're gonna go blind. This is that explanation doesn't work. And so as the sutta on right view continues. And then we have the explanation about how you come to right view by understanding contact. And then salayatana samudaya, phassa samudayo. You're familiar with this stage from the paticca is that the origin, the arising of the sense basis, there is the arising of the sense contact, and with the cessation, salayatana nirodha, the cessation of the sense basis, there is a cessation of the perceiving process. There is no more grasping when the senses are no longer separated into something that is seeing, something that is yes, okay. And then again with the how much phassa is a profound process, is that phassa nirodha is also a result of practicing the Eightfold Path. Is that you can see that that doesn't work if you just think of it as a biological process, but that it has to be something that is ongoing, produced, willfully created through not correctly practicing. When you're correctly practicing, then sense objects break up. Then wisdom illuminates the arising and ceasing nature of objects, and there is a breaking up of things that you thought were unified objects. And you remember this in from the this sequence you remember from Paticca Samuppada is you have Salayatana, then Phassa, Vedana, Upadana. And so you have to perceive the object, and then that's Phassa. Like Phassa already has a perception that you identify something that you grasp from having trained to grasp it. Then from there can be an engagement. That is the Vedana, something that is, it's going to be pleasant if you want to move forward. It's going to be unpleasant if you move away from it. And the central element in that is intention, is cetana. And so this is where Kamma has to be practiced. Understanding Kamma is where phassa produces vedana through intention and producing some kind of engagement. And something that you can think of with this regard is, how can an object end? How can an object be broken up by wisdom so that you no longer see it? This is an example I wanted to bring up, is like if you see a face drawn in the sand, like then it's just lines, like it's just some lines scratched into the sand. And if you go to the immediate perception, then you're going to see a face. But if you focus on particular parts of that sand drawing, then you're no longer going to see a face. You're just going to see scratches in the sand. There's no longer phassa. There's no longer the contact with the perception of the face for you anymore. And this is, then you perceive it as just emptiness. There's no object anymore there. And then there's not going to be a feeling, it's not a nice face, it's not a nice drawing, it's not a stick figure, it's not an artwork, it's just sand. Right? Then wisdom has illuminated its nature, and there's no longer Kamma towards it. Okay, let's continue. So the next one will be another thing that we talk about Kamma is the qualities dark and bright. Like that, what is the type of Kamma that is being committed? Then, Tanmetteo, can I ask you to read for us until
Yes.
until Samvattati,
Samvattati. Where is it?
here in the fourth line.
Okay. Chattarimani vanna kammani maya sayang avinya satchikatva aveditani katamani chattari atti vanna kammang kanghang kang avipakang atti vanna
kammang sukang sukka vipakam ati punna kammang kang hasukang kang hasuka vipakam ati punna kammang akang hang asukang akang hasuka vipakam kamma kayaya samvatati.
Thank you for good work. This is in the Sutta where we read about the dog duty ascetic who asks the Buddha, what is going to be the result of him practicing. One of them is practicing the ox duty, and the other one is practicing the dog duty. And they ask about their future rebirth from the Buddha, and he doesn't want to reply, but he gives in the end, and he explains the result of their future birth is not going to be so wonderful that they imagine. And then Punna, then he explains to them the type of Kamma that is performed in the terms of a dark and bright Kamma. So this is where we have, so there are Chatra Imani, there are 4. So Punna, he's talking to Punna, this is the name. He is addressing Punna, that there are 4 Kamma, which he, by personal experience, has made known. Such Katava is through personal experience, with higher knowledge, he has made it known. And what are these 4? And then the 4 categories is dark. You have dark Kamma, Kanha, that has a dark result, Kanha Vipaka. And then there's Kamma that is bright Kamma with bright result, Sukha Vipakam. And then there's Kamma with Kamma, Kanha Sukang, that is, you would call it mixed. That is, it's both dark and bright, and its result is also going to be Kanha Sukha. Its result is also going to be both dark and bright. And then Akanhang, Asukang, Akanha Sukha Vipakam. And this is where the profound teaching comes in, is that there can be Kamma that is not dark and not bright, and its result is also not dark and not bright, but it leads Kamma Kayaya. So Kaya means destruction or wearing away. Destruction, wearing away. This is a term also used with the kilesas. That asavakaya. Asavakaya is the wearing away, the destruction of the asava. And so the Kamma that is neither dark, neither bright, and has the same type of result, this leads to the destruction and wearing away of Kamma. Samvatati means leads to. And so this is where the practice is. Like, if you're just following previous conditions that are given, you're reacting to things according to ignorance of whatever has been conditioned, then maybe you're doing right things, but maybe you're doing bright things, but even the bright results, you're still caught in the cycle of samsara. And the path is towards the end of Kamma. The end of Kamma is not dark, not bright, but it leads to the wearing away of Kamma. And so how is the wearing away of Kamma works? Ajahn Gavesako, can you continue, please?
Katamancha punna kammang akanhang asukang akkanha asukha vipakam kammakaya sangvatati. So it just repeats how is that that action that is neither dark nor bright and leads to the cessation of action. Tatra punna yamidam kammang kanham kanha vipakam tassa pahanaya ya chetana yamidam kammang sukkang sukha vipakam tassa pahanaya ya chetana, and so on. So here in this case, or there in that case, something like this. Punna yam idam kammam. So whatever is this action, yam idam kammam, like whatever action, whatever this action, which is dark and has dark results.
That's right.
And then it continues tassa pahanaya, for the abandoning of that action, for the abandoning of that action, ya chetana, what that which is the volition. Tassa pahanaya ya chetana, meaning like that's how you create a definition or in Pāli. You first mention it, in the case of that kamma that is dark, for its abandoning, and then finally you say ya chetana, that intention.
That's right. In idiomatic English, you would say the intention, the intention of
abandoning the dark kamma. Completely the opposite word order from English, basically. You construct a Pāli sentence completely the other way, right? And the same for the bright kamma, sukha, and then the same for the
intention of
abandoning
that bright kamma.
that bright kamma. And then similarly for the mixed.
That's right. Tassa pahanaya, so kanha sukha, the both dark and bright here. So kammang kanha sukhang, the kamma that has dark and bright result, and that the kamma that is dark and bright, and it has dark and bright result of the event for the intention that is for the abandoning of that.
Idam uchati, this is called punna the kamma that is not dark, not bright, and has neither dark nor bright result, and it leads to the ending of kamma. Oh.
Yes, that's right. So this is the intention of renunciation, the intention of giving up. This is where you remember this is right intention. That's where the Eightfold Path is practiced. So for the next few quotes, I didn't want to go into reading the Pāli, but I wanted to include the quotes because they are very useful when you're explaining Kamma to other people and trying to tell them what are the properties of the teaching that relates to Kamma. And sometimes you have to be there's this question that comes up, that when is the fruit going to appear, and why don't we see someone committing evil deeds, unwholesome actions, and why don't we see them suffer right away? And so in Majjhima 136 we have the Buddha explaining that if you had that kind of deterministic explanation, then the holy life couldn't work, then you couldn't practice. And that in his analysis of Kamma, in his analysis of action, the result of action ripens at an unknown time, and someone might commit unwholesome deeds, someone might kill living beings, someone might perform evil actions, but an earlier wholesome action might ripen sooner. And so he might live a happy life, he might have pleasant experiences, even though he has just recently been not a very good boy. And, I'll just read the quote for you, that in the case of a person who takes life and holds wrong view at that point, with the breakup of the body after death, he reappears in a good destination, a heavenly world. And that is because either earlier he performed a wholesome fine action that is to be felt as pleasant, or after that he done this whatever was unwholesome, after that he performed a wholesome action that is felt to be pleasant, or maybe at the time of death, he changed his view, his perspective, and his view was corrected, and when he died with right view. And so this affects how his actions will bear fruit. And with the breakup of the body after that, he reappears in a good destination, a heavenly world. But so if you just stop there, then you might have a amoral teaching that you wouldn't get the negative result of unwholesome deeds. But the Buddha continues is that even if you have a case like this, where you see someone living seemingly not their unwholesome actions were not effective, that nonetheless they will experience the negative results. Those will bear fruit, but you don't know where it's going to bear fruit. It can be this life, here and now, in this life. It can be the next life or after that. So he will experience the result of the same type of kamma that he performed. It's just the time that you can't really determine. And so the analysis that sometimes people have about kamma is this very transactional view that I have done something good, and so I should receive, I should always receive good things, that should somehow, I should be always lucky, and I should always avoid negative things in my life. And that is not that is not how it's being taught. And the other one after that is that, understand, so you don't know, even though you're practicing maybe diligently, you're doing a lot of good, you're performing you're living a virtuous life. And in the Anguttara Nikaya, we have someone asking, what would happen if I die, and maybe an unwholesome action from the past is going to take over, and I'm going to suffer in hell for a trivial thing that I've done, even though I've lived a virtuous life. And in this case, that's a type of mixed kamma, like something that has both a bright and dark component. But how much bright and dark, its proportion to each other does matter. So that the simile the Buddha gives is that if you have a lump of salt and you put it into a small cup, then that's going to be undrinkable. That's going to be very salty. It's going to be very unpleasant. It's like somebody who does a trivial, evil, unwholesome deed, and they also don't lead a very virtuous life. They have a nasty behavior. Then the result for them is terrible. Like a trivial thing for them is very unpleasant. But for someone who otherwise lives a virtuous life, the same type of trivial, unwholesome action is like dropping a lump of salt into the Ganges River. Like the salt will not affect the river very much. That the amount of virtuous, wholesome actions will dilute and reduce the effect of the whatever negative result is going to be experienced. And so the same, the result of the same type of kamma still has the same type of result, but the strength of the result manifests in different strength in the case of different individuals, depending on the quality of life that they lead. Like that is I think a rather important point where so if you have a virtuous life, then really don't worry about what might happen about things that you've done when you were a teenager.
Yes.
Right, and then we can move on to the end of it, is where the explanation should include that the arahant makes no kamma. What is the how should we understand that the path leads to the end of the kamma, and that kamma is something that relates to worldlings, something that is not just worldlings, but also the first stages of enlightenment. Anybody who is not an arahant, they still perform kamma because their intention is participates in grasping and identification, and kamma is completely eradicated and stopped with the arahant. And so this is why we read these terms, is that you have the path, and in the quotes that we read, we equated it with a kamma nirodha, that practicing the path leads to the end of kamma, which is the equivalent of the end of contact. The contact is based on a grasping, upadana, and this is the nirupadi, the not attachment, the unattached, anupadaya through let's put this there. So cessation of kamma, you have cessation of contact, nirupadi is non-attachment, and anupadaya is how you read it in the suttas that we recite, is by or through not grasping, and leads to becoming, ceasing, the cessation of becoming, and all this practice is equivalent to, in its final stage, the equivalent of nibbana. And so I selected the quotes here that you'll recognize from the chanting that we do. Who hasn't read for us Samahito? Venerable Samahito, can I ask you to read please read all the 3 quotes for us.
Okay. Akupame wimuti ayamantima jatina tidani punabhavoti pikunang anupadaya asawe chitani vimuncisuti kinang puranang nawang nati sangbhavam viratachita yatike bhavasami.
Ajahn Gavisako, please give us a breakdown.
Akupame vimuti. So vimuti is a feminine, meaning liberation, freedom, and the liberation is my liberation is akupa, is not shakeable, not to be shaken. So that's why there is an ending, long So the liberation is unshakable. And then there is ayam antima jati. So there is ayam antima jati. So the birth jati, which is the last one, antima, final or last. So this is my final birth. Ayam, yeah. This is my last birth. Nattidani punabhavoti is actually now there is not the dani means like now. Punabhavo meaning like a continued becoming, re-becoming, or what we would call rebirth, renewed existence. Yeah. So there is now no new becoming. And the second one is from the
Like this is Bhavanirodha.
exactly.
Like this is what I thought of. This is where you read Bhavanirodha as the end of the path.
Exactly. And then this one is, from the Sutta, from Dhammacakka, or this one is actually the Kunamapada.
First one is Dhammacakka, second one is
Anatalaka.
that's right.
So Bhikkhu Chittani Vimuchingso. So the subject of the sentence is actually the Chittani. Chittani are the minds, plural. Minds, from Chitta. So you have Chittani are the minds. And the minds are of the bhikkhus. So bhikkhu is a plural, and bhikkhunang is of the bhikkhus. Yeah, the minds of the bhikkhus, vimuching suti. So vimuching su, they were liberated. That's the past. In the past, they were liberated. And how? Anupadaya asavehi. Through non-grasping of the no. They were liberated through non-grasping, but they were actually liberated from the asavas. Asavehi is through non-grasping, they were liberated from the asavas. So asava, the plural, the whatever, the outflows, and the minds were liberated from the outflows, defilements. Yeah. And the
That's
last,
right. This is where
Yeah.
Identification stops. This is where we said that the arahant is he continues to perform intentional actions, but for him there is no grasping involved in those actions. There's no I making. And this is how Kamma no longer he's not creating any new Kamma.
that's right.
That Kamma is not some kind of like this is where Kamma as simply action is not sufficient to explain the teaching.
Yeah. And the last one you might remember from the chanting, the Ratana Sutta, Kinam Purana. So the old Purana, so in neuter here, so Purana is that which is old, is finished, is exhausted. The old is done, is finished, exhausted. The new, Navam, there is no coming into existence, coming into being of anything new. Yeah, and then Virata Chittayatike Brahmasame. So this describes the Arahant, basically the state of mind of the Arahant. So they are Virata Chitta.
Virata Chitta.
So this is the Virata Chitta Ayatike Bhavasaming. So Ayatika Bhava would be the future becoming. So in terms of future becoming, or with regard to future becoming, future existence, they have detached their mind.
So Virata is detached.
Virata is like without desire.
Detached. Chitta ayatike is mind towards future and bhavasaming becoming.
Yeah.
That's right. And the last verse I selected here for you that also describes the Buddha talks about the state of, like he describes what happens with one who has this experience, who has this perspective or has come to the end of the path like this. And Udana 8:10, this is the Buddha is relating what happens to Venerable Dabadamalian, who became arahant at the age of 7, and he lived his life in the Sangha you remember him from the Vinaya stories. He is the one who lights up his finger to show the monks to their kutis in the dark. And in this sutta, the Dabba, the Venerable Dabba, he comes to the end of his life and he asks permission from the Buddha to attain final parinibbana. And the way he does this is that he rises up in the air and enters the fire element through with his entire body. And so he self-combusts in the air without any soot or any waste remaining. So he completely burns up and disappears while he's in the air. And the Buddha thought that this was such a beautiful expression of somebody who has come to the end of all, come to the end of everything, that nothing remains, like, you know, nothing is left, everything just disappears. Is that he goes to announce it at the monks at Savatthi, and this is the verse that he uses to illustrate somebody who what the Venerable Dabba has done. So ayogana hata seva. So ayo is a piece of iron. Gana is something that is compact or something that is a lump. So ayogana is a lump of iron. Hata means beaten, something that is struck. So beating, striking a lump of iron. Jalato, this is from Jalanta, burning, like a burning fire. And Jata Veda, so this is a complicated word that just means fire. Apparently it comes from that it has a Sanskrit Vedic meaning. The Jata Veda is something that is one who knows the created things. And so it's a Vedic epithet for fire, but in the Pāli language, they just use it as a synonym for fire. It works well for the poetry here. And so a burning flame, a lump of fire and of a burning flame, anupupu basantassa, is that gradually it ceases. So vupasantassa is ceases or calming. And anupubba is gradual. So just like yata makes a comparison. So like something. But yata here refers to the phrase that just came before it. So just like a lump of iron that is being struck and beaten with a burning, it's burning with flame. When the beating ceases, when you take it out the flame, like, you know, it's gradually the flame is gradually going to die down and dissipate. And so just like that, na nyayate gati. Gati is, you recognize, it's where it's gone, like the path or track. The track cannot be known, not nyayate. You recognize nya, root, that is to know. So just like the flame of this lump of iron that has gone cool, its path and track where it has gone, it cannot be known. So evang sammavimuttanang. So that way, thus, evang, somebody who is, so this is describing someone who is well freed, sammavimuttanang. So rightly, or well liberated. Kama, Bandha, Oga, Tarinam. So liberated in what way? So he is Kama, you recognize it's a sense desire. Bandha is being bound, is bound by a rope, bound or tied to. Oga is the flood. And Tarina is somebody who has crossed it. So one who has crossed the ties, the bounds of sense desire, he is rightly liberated. And so regarding him, so just like one who is like that, Panya Petung Gatinati, that his track, his path is also not known. Panya Petung, to know it, there is nothing, there is not. To define, Panya Petum is to declare something or define. You cannot say where it has gone. You cannot declare it. You cannot define it. Pattanam achalang sukham is that he has attained, reached the happiness, the sukha, which is achala, that is unshakable. Unshakable happiness, achalang sukham. Let's see if I can find whose translation do I have here. Let's see Ajantanissaro. This is how he translates this verse. Just as the destination of a glowing fire, struck with an iron hammer, this gradually growing calm, so the destination isn't known. Even so, there's no destination to describe for those rightly released, having crossed over the flood of sensuality's bond, for those who have attained unwavering bliss.